ओम
सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां
वन्दे
वन्दे
गुरुपरम्पराम्।
गुरुपरम्पराम्।
ओम
सहना
सहनावतु
भवतु
सहनौ
सहनौ
भुनक्तु
भुनक्तु
सह
सह
वीर्यं
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 करवावहै
करवावहै
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
विद्विषावहै।
ओम
ॐ
शान्ति
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 शान्तिः।
शान्तिः।
Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya.
Om
Good
Tat
morning,
Sat.
everybody.
Good morning.
Okay, so we had completed the third verse. Now we can start the fourth verse today, second chapter. So what we'll do is we will chant the first four verses, and then we'll start on the fourth verse, the explanation. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha.
ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः।
Sanjaya Uvacha.
Sanjay उवाच
Om Tatha Kripaya Vishtham Ashrupurnakulekshanam.
तथा कृष्णविष्टं पूर्णकुलेक्षणम्
Vishidantamidam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudana.
विषीदन्तमिदं
इदं
वाक्यमधु
वाक्यम्
उवाच
उवाच
मधुसूदनः।
मधुसूदनः।
Shri Bhagavanuvacha.
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Utastvakashmalamidam Vishame Samupasthitam.
स्वाकशमलं विषमं
समुपस्थितम्
Pranaryajushthama Akirtikaram
अनार्यजुष्टमस्वर्ग्यमर्जुन
Laibyam asmagamah partha naitattvai upapadyate.
क्लैब्यमास्मगमपार्थ नैतत्त्वयोपाद्यते
Shudram hridaya daurvalyam tyaktvotishtha parantapa.
दौर्बल्यं
परन्तप
तत्त्वेष्टपरन्तप।
Arjuna uvacha.
अर्जुन उवाच
Katham bhishmam aham sankhye.
कथं भीष्ममहं सङ्ख्ये
Dronam cha madhusudana.
द्रोणं च
च मधुसूदन
Ishubhih pratiyotsyami.
इषुभिः प्रतियोत्स्यामि
Pujarhavarisudana.
पूजाहार्वीरिसूदन।
Okay, so I'm muting all of y'all and we will look at this verse. So this is Arjuna talking now. So Arjuna uvacha, Arjuna said, Katham, how? If you want the breakups first, right? So Katham Bhishmam Aham. So Bhishmam Aham has to be broken. Bhishmam plus Aham. Sankhye Dronam cha Madhusudana. That is fine. Ishubhihi Protsyami Pujar. That is Pujar how. Pujar how plus Arisudana. Pujar how Arisudana. That is a breakup. Then the sentence will come to. I'll just give you the brief meanings. The Anvaya is Arjuna Uvacha. Arjuna said, Hey Madhusudana, Katham aham, how will I, katham aham, how will I, pratiyotsyami, fight. How will I fight? Whom will I fight? Bhishmam cha Dronam. So, katham aham pratiyotsyami, how will I fight against Bhishma and Drona? And why is he saying this? Pujar how. So, pujar how, dvitiya vachanam. Dvivachanam. Pujar how means people who are worthy to be worshipped. And you are doing Dvivachanam pujar how because he's talking about two people, Bhishma and Drona. So, how are these two people who should be worshipped? How am I supposed to fight against them? Issue bihi. So, issue is arrows. By using arrows, where do I fight them? Sankhye. So, in this battle. So, how do I fight these people in this battle with arrows when these people are actually people whom I should be worshipping? He Ari Sudanaha. So, Ari means enemy. Sudana is destroyer. Ari Sudanaha, or destroyer of enemies. That is the word is using for Krishna. So, now look at the individual words. Katham aham Bhishmam cha Dronam cha. How can I fight Bhishma and Drona? Pujar Pujarha. That is the singular. Because it is plural, it has become Pujarha. Pujaraha. One who is worthy to worship, one who should be worshipped. What is he saying? Hey Krishna, Bhishma and Drona are worthy of worship. Not only that, they are also my gurus. Therefore, how can you tell me to fight my gurus? Because they are people who should be worshipped. And now he says, Hey Ari Sudana. Hey Krishna, not only have you destroyed many enemies, but the problem is that you want me to kill my guru also right now. So Ari Sudana, why are you saying that my gurus are my enemies? Hey Krishna. So why is Arjuna suddenly woken up and saying all these things? Because as we said earlier, Arjuna had given up, was in depression, and Krishna was trying to poke him so that some amount of rajas would come and then he would become active. And what was this, poking in terms of, because Krishna, by saying all these things, Anarijushthama Swargyam, all those things, Klaibyam Mas Magam of Partha, what was he saying? That Arjuna, you are afraid, you are a coward. That is what Krishna was implying, even though he did not say it in so many words. And Arjuna, remember, was a very respected, very feared warrior who had never lost. He had even fought with Lord Shiva and come out okay. Lord Shiva had respected him and said that you fought well. And to such a person, Krishna, who Arjuna thought was his friend, Krishna was saying, hey Arjuna, you are being a coward. So here, what is being pointed out is you have to extract from all these things, like these slokas, they appear very simple, but you have to think deeply about it and extract all possible meanings. So what is being said here? The thinking process of Arjuna is being pointed out. What was Arjuna saying earlier? That this is Dharam Yuddha, protection of Dharma. And this is possible only by protecting those people who follow Dharma. And in this war, Krishna, you expect me to fight the people and destroy the people themselves. How will Dharma be protected? Right? And if you see all that argument, there is no indication of fear over there. Arjuna was not afraid. Arjuna's problem was not fear. His problem was misplaced compassion on the battlefield for his enemies, people who were in the opposite side. So Krishna was deliberately, overlooking that and, implying that, hey Arjuna, you are a coward, right? So Swami Dayanandji says very nicely here, Arjuna wanted, Krishna was Madhusudanaha, but Arjuna did not want history to know him as Guru Sudanaha. And that is why he was unwilling to fight. Okay. Now we will look at the next verse. So please unmute yourself and we'll chant the next verse. Now, if you see the very manner in which the verse is written has changed, right? All the other verses have 2 lines each, and these verses are 4 lines. So in Gita, there are 2 meters. You know what a meter is, right? Chanda is a meter. And a meter means it's a particular way of writing in which there are so many syllables per line. All the other, I think I mentioned this earlier also, that all the other verses so far, they are in Anushtupa Chanda. Right? Anushtupa Chanda means there are 8 syllables in each line. So totally 16 syllables in the verse. Now, if you look at it, I've muted you all because there's a bit of disturbance. Okay, so anybody wants to talk, only then please open your mic. So Anushtupa Chanda is where there are 8 syllables per line, per quarter line. Therefore, 16 syllables in one line and 32 syllables in the entire verse. So you can look at it. Katham, Bhishmam, Aham, Sankhye, that sort of thing. Now this meter is called Trishtup Chanda, Trishtup Chanda, in which there are 11 syllables per line. So syllable means point of pronunciation. It will be pronounced individually. So here there are 11 in each line, and therefore the entire verse will have 44 syllables. That is what is meant by Anushtup Chanda. Anushtup Chanda is the particular verse we had chanted was Anushtup Chanda, that is in verse number 4. Now we are going to verse number 5, which is Trishtup Chanda. So Anushtup Chanda is basically very easy, right? But Trishtup Chanda is not that simple. It's a little bit more sing-song, as you will notice, that this tune has to be, discovered actually. It's no standardized tune. So please unmute yourself. We'll chant the 5th sloka. Guruna hatva hi mahanubhavan
Guruna hatva hi mahanubhavan
Shreyo bhoktum bhaikshyamapi haloke
Shreyo bhoktum
Vaishnamapi
bhaikshamamaloke
Hatvarthakamam stu guruni haiva Jiya bhogan rudira pratigdan So if you sit down and count, at your leisure just now, you will find that in each line there are 11 pronunciation points, clearly enunciating 11 different points, and that's why it's a different meter. The meter is known as Trishtup Chanda. Okay, there are very many chandas. In Gita, only 2 chandas are used. One is Anushtup and one is Trishtup. Okay, now look at the words. We have to take the first word, Guruna Hatva, and break it up into Gurun, that is na with a halant, Gurun plus Ahatva. Then Mahanubhavan. Shreyaha. Then Bhoktum Api. Bhoktum Api Iha Loke. bhoktum api iha loke. So bhaiksham apiha has to be broken into bhaikshyam plus api plus iha. So the whole line becomes shreyo bhoktum api iha loke. Then hatva plus arthakaman plus tu. So hatva arthakamam stu. That sa, half sa is a sandhi joiner. You drop it. It becomes hatva plus arthakaman plus tu. Plus guruni haiva is gurun plus iha plus eva. So carefully break gurun iha eva. That is why guruni haiva. Gurun plus iha plus eva. Then bhunjiya bhogan is okay. Then rudira pradigdhan. Okay. So I'm not giving you too many details of grammar because most of us are not very familiar with it. Just overall for the understanding. Now look at the Anvaya. He says, Shreyaha bhoktum api. So you have to add over here. Look, see, as I mentioned in the last few classes, most of the verses, most of the slokas in our scriptures, they are grammatically incomplete. You cannot say they are incorrect because it is Shastram. Shastram, we can never point out that the words are incorrect. But they are incomplete, which means they leave many parts for you to fill in. For example, you will have sometimes subject is not there, sometimes object is not there, sometimes verb is not there, sometimes the conjunctions are not there, prepositions are not there. So the actual way of the Anvaya is that you should complete all this. But since this is not really a grammar based class, I'm not doing that. I'll give you once in a way here and there so that you know how it is done. Okay. Now here, you need to add syat because syat is not there. Syat meaning it will be. Okay. So first word should be syat, or you can say shreya syat. It is better. As it stands, shreya is only better. What better? So it is better. So shreya syat. Shreya syat is to be added in brackets to indicate that it is not there in the moolam. Moolam is the basic verse. So shreya syat, it is better. Bhoktum, to eat. Bhaikshyam api. Api bhaikshyam. So bhaikshyam means food which is given in bhiksha, collected from others. So it is better to eat bhiksha. Shreya syat bhoktum api bhaikshyam. Better to eat bhiksha. Ihaloke, in this world. But to do that, ahatva, not killing mahanubhavan, these great gurun teachers. Okay, so it's, when you put it into English, it becomes a little bit unwieldy, but basically saying that I would rather not kill these very great teachers of mine. Ahatva, it's not hatva. Ahatva mahanubhavan gurun. Not killing these teachers, what is the option for me? I might have to go and beg in the world. I might have to go and beg, because why? If I don't kill these teachers, it means that I am not fighting the war. And if I'm not fighting the war, it means that I am losing my kingdom, and therefore I will become a beggar. So all that has to be read into that one sentence. So all that has to be supplied over there. And therefore he's saying that ahatva mahanubhavan gurun. Not having killed these teachers is implying that no, I'm a beggar. And therefore he says, Shreya syat bhoktum api bhaikshyam. It is better to be a beggar and eat that kind of food in this world. That is the first sentence. Actually, again, I'll request you all, you should please not unmute yourself until discussion start, because the recording gets affected. So anybody who's doing that, please don't. If it continues, I'll have to switch off the option for you to unmute yourself, which I don't want to do. Okay. Right. Now, sentence number 2. So that's the first sentence. Sentence number 2 is what? The first option was not having killed. What should I do? If I don't kill, I will have to go and beg, which is okay by me. It is better to beg than to kill the teachers. That is what he said in the first part. Now he's saying, suppose I kill. Hatva Gurun, having killed the teachers, Bhunjiya Bhogan. Bhunjiya is enjoyment or experiencing. Bhunjiya Bhogan or all the enjoyment. So Bhunjiya Bhogan, experiencing all the enjoyments, Artha Kamahan, which are Artha and Kama. So securities and pleasures. But he says, all the Artha Kama, Rudhira Pradigdhan. They would be colored with the blood of my gurus. So 2 things he has said. In this world, even if I have to beg, it is better than killing these very noble gurus of mine. On the other hand, by killing these gurus, I will enjoy the pleasures of wealth and sense objects of the kingdom, because I will be the king. But those pleasures will all be stained with the blood of my gurus. This is the meaning of that particular verse. Okay. So supposing he does not fight in this war because he does not want to kill Bhishma and Drona. So he cannot live in the country, right? Because Duryodhana is not going to give any place. Because if he doesn't fight the war, who becomes king? Duryodhana becomes king. And Duryodhana has already said that I will not give you 5 houses. I will not give you a room with 5 bedrooms. I will not give you 5 anything. I will not give you even 1 inch of 1 needle full of land, 1 needle sized land. I will not give you. All that he has said earlier. So there is no other option for Arjuna but to fight. Or if he doesn't want to fight, he will not get place in the forest, in the kingdom, and therefore he has to go for the forest again. And if he has to go to the forest, what life will he have to live? The life of a Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means he doesn't cook himself, right? Remember that in the old Varnas, only the Grahastha cooked. Brahmachari, Vanaprastha and Sannyasi, they were supposed to live on Bhiksha, on alms given by others. And therefore he's saying that that is what I should be doing. Okay, now remember in the old days, taking Bhiksha was, according to Dharma Shastram, it was a papam for a Grahastha. A Grahastha cannot take Bhiksha because Dharma Shastra said that out of the 4 Varnas, the only one who can not take Bhiksha has to be Grahastha. Why? Because, what is the reason?
Because a Grihastha is trained and equipped to earn a living.
Well, okay, but a better...
Because they
So,
can
do
do
his,
the ones living
It's
a
it's
worthy
it's
life.
his dharma. It
That
is his
is his
dharma
dharma.
to do the
And
karma.
karma.
to do his duty towards his family.
No. Remember, the other 3 had to live on Bhiksha.
So
the 4th one was supposed to give the Bhiksha, right? So Brahmachari, the Grihastha had to give Bhiksha, because without somebody giving Bhiksha, how can the other 3 Varnas get Bhiksha? So Papa Karma for Grihastha was not giving Bhiksha. That is, living on Bhiksha is a Papa Karma for Grihastha. The Bhiksha life was possible for Brahmachari. He goes to different houses and asks for food. Vanaprastha can live on Bhiksha, must live on Bhiksha. Sannyasi also must live on Bhiksha. Right? Now remember that in the there was a rule that you have to go to different houses and get the Bhiksha. The Grihastha has to be the giver of the Bhiksha. And therefore the grahastha has no right to live on bhiksha. So if he does that, it will be a papa karma, right? And this kind of papa karma, doing something which you are not supposed to do, has a particular name. The papam which is incurred by doing that is called pratyavaya papam. That is supposed to be a papam, pratyavaya papam. The papam arising out of not doing something which you are supposed to do. Now, if Arjuna, was he a grihastha or a sannyasi or a vanaprastha?
Grihastha.
And therefore he was confused here, right? Because as a grihastha, he has no right to go and ask for bhiksha. That is why he's saying it is better for me to commit that papam and live on bhiksha than for me to kill Bhishma and Drona. Because there are two possible papams. One is the papam of killing Bhishma and Drona, and one is the papam of living on bhiksha. So I choose the lower one, the lesser papam I choose. That is what he is saying. So between the two actions of killing my gurus and getting bhaiksyam, let me choose the lesser one. Now look at the word. It is called bhaiksyam. Okay. So this also has a technical meaning. Bhiksha is food collected from one house. When food is collected from several houses, it's called bhaiksyam. So that's a technical meaning here. He is saying not one house, I will go and collect from more than one house. And actually in those days, the rule was that bhiksha can be collected from a maximum of 5 houses. Okay. Now it doesn't mean that you can go and collect from all the 5 houses. It means that if the first house you don't get enough food for the day, then you go to the second house. If there also enough food for the day is not there, then you go to the third house. So that is the meaning of the 5 houses. Not that you collect from all the 5 houses, but you go to all the 5 houses one by one and stop at the time when you get enough for the day. So the first house gives you sufficiently, then you don't go to the other houses at all. And if all the 5 houses don't give you anything, then what happens? You have to fast on that day. You cannot go more. Those are the rules of bhiksha. Everything had a rule. Okay. Now you look at the word Mahanubhavan Hatva. I have to, rather than killing these great gurus of mine. So Mahanubhavan is broken into Maha plus Anubhavan, greatly experienced or great gurus. Okay. So Guru Hatya is a papa that he knows. And not only that, supposing he chooses to fight the war and kill these gurus, then he will win the war, of that he is certain. And he will enjoy all the pleasures of the kingdom also. But he says, Rudira Pradigdan, they are all stained with the blood of my gurus. We can enjoy these blood-stained pleasures born out of Artha and Kama. So Artha Kaman. Artha means the security or the wealth. Kama means sense objects. And he says, therefore, Hare Krishna, I don't want to fight this war. Because even if I fight, what is going to happen? I can't really enjoy the pleasures because I will see them always soaked in the blood of my gurus. And I don't want to do that. So the only option I have is to go back to my forest. Forest is fine. So between the two courses, killing my gurus and fighting in the forest, killing my gurus and begging, sitting and begging, I would rather choose to beg. This is a decision so far. Okay. Now we unmute yourself and we chant the next
Om
verse.
Ravi ji, जो आपने एक शब्द बोला था, papam, which you suppose you do what you are not supposed to do. What is the word for that?
It is not doing what you're not supposed to do. It is not doing what you're supposed to do.
Okay, what
That
is the word?
Pratyavaya papam.
Pratyavaya papam.
You will find that coming up very frequently. It's a very commonly used word by Shankaracharya also. The papam which occurs out of your not doing something which you are supposed to do. Not doing what you're supposed to do, that is one papa. If you do what you're not supposed to do, that is one papa. But if you don't do what you're supposed to do, that is another papa. That papa is called pratyavaya papa. Now we chant verse number 5, which is again Trishtuk meter.
6.
Verse number 6, sorry. Na chaitat vidma kataranno gariyaha.
Chaitanam karanno gariyo.
Yadva jayema yadiva no jayeyuhu.
Yadva jayema yadiva no
jayeyu.
Yaneva hatva na jijivishamaha.
Yaneva
hatva jijivishamaha.
Devasthitah pramukhe dhartra rashtra. Okay. So now look at the words. Na chaitat vidmaha. So na is one. The second word is cha plus etat plus vidmaha. 3 words. Cha plus etat plus vidmaha. Kataranno is katarat. Halantandatta. Katarat plus naha. Not na. Naha. Na plus a visarga. Okay, katarat plus naha plus gariyo or gariyaha. Then yadva is yat plus va. Then jayema yadi va. Then the no in the second line has to be naha, not na. Okay, I'm very specifically saying naha, not na. Then jayeyuhu. Then yaneva is yan plus eva. Hatva jajivishamaha. Sthevasthita, the sa is dropped. It is a sandhi joining with jajivishamaha and thevasthitaha. That is dropped. So te, the avagraha is dropped. So avasthitaha plus pramukhe plus dhartra rashtraha. So jijivisha. Jijivisha is a word which means desiring to live. Jijivishamaha, desiring to live. With a desire to live. Jivasan, desiring to live. Okay. Now let us try to put it into simple language. So we can start. And cha na vidma. So you have to supply here the word we. Subject is what? We. We do not know. Na vidma means do not know. So we do not know. Katarata, which of the two? Katarat is a particular word meaning out of the two. Which of the two? Gariyaha is better for na. Ha. What is the difference between na and naha?
Is us.
Us and no is no.
No is no, naha is us. So katarat, gariyaha, naha. Which of the two is better for us? Now, which of the two means which two are we talking about?
Killing gurus.
Killing,
Diksha.
winning the war, killing by killing the guru.
Killing the gurus or asking for diksha.
Killing the guru or asking for alms.
Oh,
Whether we conquer them or whether we get conquered.
yes, that comes later. So that you have to be careful about. That is why it's the bit, no, you have to read the full verse and then understand. So right now he's just saying, we do not know. Cha na vidmaha, katarata gariyaha naha. We do not know which of the two is better for us. Which of the two is given later. Etat jayema, that we should conquer them. Or etat jayeyuhu, that naha, we should be conquered. Okay, so now I have to apply at both places that we should conquer them or they should conquer us. So this is what is being said here. We do not know which is better, whether we should win or they should win. How do we know? We don't know. The argument of a very confused person, right? Because if you don't know whether you like being conquered or do you like to conquer, you shouldn't be in the war at all. That's the first sentence. Then second sentence is Dhartra Rashtraha. So again, Dhritarashtra is the king. Dhartra Rashtra means sons of Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra Putraha Dhartra Rashtraha. Sons of Dhritarashtra. Hatva, after slaying them, after killing them, Yan eva na jijivishamaha. He's telling Krishna, hey Krishna, you know, after killing the sons of, after killing the Kauravas, that is Dhritarashtraha, so Dhritarashtrava hatva, Yan eva na jijivishamaha. Will we want to live at all? We don't know. And which Dhritarashtra is talking about? Te avastitha pramukhe. Those people, those sons of Dhritarashtra who are facing us. So you rearrange the whole thing for making it clear. So yes, you have to say that Dhritarashtraha te avastitaha pramukhe. Those sons of Dhritarashtra who are standing in front of us. Hatva. Hatva yan. After killing them, na eva jijivishamaha. We may not want to live. That is second sentence. First sentence was what? We do not know which is better, we conquering them or they conquering us. And secondly, even if we kill those Kauravas, we may not want to live also because they are all our bandhus, all our friends and relatives. So he says that these people are standing in front of me. I do not feel like killing them because by killing these people, I wouldn't like to enjoy the world. I wouldn't like to even live after that. It may be a great victory, but I cannot rejoice because how can I rejoice after killing my own people? And therefore, yadva jayema yadivano jayayuhu. I'm not even sure whether they will defeat us or I will defeat them, which means I don't have the objectivity to analyze my situation. Right? I'm not able to clearly think at the matter, and therefore I need help from you. And therefore he says, Nacha etad vidmaha. I do not know at all, O Krishna, what I want to do. Therefore tell me, Kataranno Gariyaha, which of the two courses of action is better for me? So what are the two courses? One is doing Swadharma, doing my duty as a warrior. And Swadharma has got this great, plus point. What is that? That it is my Swadharma and I'm doing what my duty is. And it's got a very negative point. And what is that? It is the Guru Vadaha, killing of my gurus. So Dharma Yuddham I do, plus point. Guru Vadaha I do, minus point. It's got pros and it's got cons. That is if I fight the war. Now if I don't fight the war and I run away, there is a plus point. I need not kill all these people. There is a minus point also. What is that? I have given up my Swadharma. Therefore, in both the courses of action, O Krishna, I am seeing some plus points and some minus points, and I am thoroughly confused. Okay, so this becomes clearer in the next verse. So here we say, we go to the next verse, which is verse number 7, and we will chant. Remember, all this is Trishtuk Chanda. So unmute yourself and we'll chant. Karpanya dosho pahata svabhavaha. Prichhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha. Shreyasyan nishchitam bruhi tanme.
यस्य
श्रेयो
तन्मे
ब्रूहि
ब्रूहि तन्मे
शिष्यस्तेऽहं शादिमां त्वां प्रपन्नम्
शिष्यस्ते त्वां प्रपन्नम्
Okay. So, कार्पण्य दोषः उपहत स्वभावः. That is the breakup. कार्पण्य दोषः उपहत स्वभावः. Then पृच्छामि is okay. त्वाम is okay. धर्म सम्मूढ़ चेताः. Then yat shreya is yat plus shreyaha. Yat or yad plus shreyaha. Syan nishchitam is syat with a visarga, with a halant plus nishchitam. Bruhi tan tat me. Tan me is tat me. Shishyaha, the avagraha sa is dropped. Shishyaha te aham shadimam tvam prapanna. So here I'll explain the words a bit. Karpanya is, misplaced compassion. I would request you all please not to unmute yourself. Okay. Karpanya is misplaced compassion. Doshaha is defect. Upahata is overcome by. Then prichhami. The suffix me indicates I am asking. So prichhami means I ask you. Tvam, you. Dharma sammudha chetaha. Cheta is the intellect. Sammudha is confused. Sammudha is completely confused. Dharma is dharma, or your duty in this case. So he says, Dharma sammudha chetaha. This is a description of Arjuna, the one whose intellect is completely confused about dharma. Dharma sammudha chetaha. How do you know? Because there's a visarga over there. When the visarga is added, it becomes prathama vibhakti, the subject case. Therefore, it is the person we are talking about. Dharma sammudha chetaha is a word describing Arjuna as a person whose intellect is completely confused about his duties. Then yad. Yad is that. Shreyaha, that which is better. Yad shreyaha syat, that which will be better. Nishchitam bruhi. Nishchitam definitely. Bruhi, please tell. Tad, that. Please tell me that. And Nishchitam for whom? Me. So syat, Nishchitam, bruhi, tad me. Please tell me that. Which is good for me. Syat would be good. Shreyaha for me. Please tell me. Then he says, te shishyaha. So remember, te in Sanskrit is to be taken very carefully. It doesn't mean the te of Hindi. Te here means yours. Yours. So he's addressing Krishna. Te shishyaha aham. I am your student. I am your shishya. Aham te shishyaha. I am your student. Hey Krishna is saying. And therefore, shadi mam. Okay, this is not the Hindi shadi. It is from the dhatu shas. Shas means to teach. So shadi mam, please teach me. Mam, teach me. And tvam prapannam, I who have taken refuge in you. Tvam prapannam means I have surrendered to you. Prapannam we have seen before also. Where did we see the word?
Sir, in the chant,
In the
Prapanna Parijata.
Dhyana sloka.
The Dhyana Shloka. Okay, so it's not a new word. So if you keep revising all the words which we are doing, by the time we reach the Gita, you will have a very good vocabulary. And those of you who don't know Sanskrit may still not be able to put together a grammatical Sanskrit sentence. But when you hear or read, you will at least be able to make sense of what is there. Because that is the great advantage of teaching with these kind of breakups. Only thing you remember the words because they are different from Hindi and it's a bit difficult to remember. But if you revise, as I said, revise regularly, it's not very difficult. And as when we go further to Upanishads, you will find that all these words will come in use over there because Upanishad Sanskrit is fairly tough. And all this knowledge that you have will come in useful. If you are taking a Sanskrit class sometime along the way, it is great. You will get the grammar also correct. But if you are not taking also, if you don't have that, enthusiasm to take a Sanskrit class, even then, enough of Sanskrit words you will know, and you will be able to make sense of what is being read. Okay, now look at the sentences. So he is saying, Karpanya dosha upahata swabhavaha. Overcome by Karpanya dosha. Upahata. So swabhavaha here is my character. Karpanya dosha upahataha has been overcome by this karpanyam, this faint-heartedness of mine. And such a person, so remember this karpanya dosha upahata swabhavaha is also prathama vibhakti. It is referring to Arjuna, the person who is overcome by faint-heartedness. That is the meaning of that word with a visarga at the end. I ask you, so that person, the person who has been overcome by all this, Prichami, I ask you, Prichami Tvam, I ask you. What does he ask? Tat me bruhi, please tell me that. Bruhi, me bruhi means tell me, please tell me. Tat, that. What is that? Yat Shreyaha. So tat has to be connected to yat. Please tell me that. Yat, which is Shreyaha Syat. Nishchitam, which is Shreyaha Nishchitam Syat, which is definitely better for me. Out of the two courses of action, which is better for me? So these two courses of action again is talking about running away from the battle and fighting the battle. So he says, I'm confused because of all the discussions that we've had, hey Krishna. So please definitely tell me, please tell me which of the two is the definitely better one for me. So, Bruhi Tat me, please tell me that. Yat Shreyaha Nishchitam Syat me, which is better for me. Very specific request. Tell me exactly what is good for me. And then he says, Aham te shishyaha. I am your student and Shadimam Prapannam Tvam. I have surrendered to you. A very, very important verse. So he says, Karpanya dosha upahata. Upahata means taken away or non-functional. So Swabhava here means my basic character, my intellect, my mind. So is Karpanya dosha upahata swabhava. Upahata swabhavaha. My intellect is non-functional. It is defunct. It is not able to do its basic function, which is what? Nitya, Anitya, Vivekaha. That it is not able to do. Because discriminating is the function of the intellect. And at crucial moments, right choices are made by the use of the buddhi, the viveka shakti of the intellect. And Arjuna has to choose the right decision. He has to make the right decision now. He has to choose the right course of action. But he says, I can't do that because upahataha, it has been made useless, defunct. It is not working. Because of what? Karpanya doshaha. So Karpanya here is helplessness or misery or confusion. So my intellect is not able to function as it should because of Karpanyam. And what is my confusion? Dharma sammudaha chetaha. My intellect is confused with regard to dharma. And here when you say dharma, you have to also add adharma, which means I am unable to decide what is dharma and what is adharma. Why is he confused? Because dharma says that I have got to do my duty. Dharma also says that violence is papam. Na himsayat sarva bhutani. Do not commit any violence towards anybody. That is also the command of the Dharma Shastra. And nitya karma kurutvam, do your own duty, is also a command of the Dharma Shastra. They are clearly contradictory in this case, because if I do my duty, I will violate the second commandment, do not commit violence. And therefore, my mind is completely confused with regard to dharma. And therefore, hey Krishna, aham pruchhami, I am asking you. Okay. Now, this is a very, very crucial line in Vedanta, in Shastram, because unless a student asks, a wise person is not supposed to give advice until the other person seriously wants to listen to the advice and asks for it. And therefore, you will see that for more than the first chapter completely, Krishna didn't give any advice. Second chapter also, up to here also, Krishna has not given any advice because Arjuna has not asked. Now only Arjuna is asking. This is the first, that is why it's considered a very, very important sloka. This is where Arjuna becomes the disciple by asking for the knowledge. And Krishna, who was only Arjuna's friend up to now, because of the fact that Arjuna has asked, he becomes Arjuna's guru. So, yat me shreyaha syat. Tell me what is good for me. Because of my confusion, I am not in a position to find out what is good and what is bad, what is dharmic and what is adharmic. I don't know. Therefore, hey Krishna, you as my guru, you should tell me. Nishchitam shreyaha. Whatever is good for me, whatever is definitely good for me, you should tell me, hey Krishna. And once again, so that Krishna does not forget, he says, Aham te shishya. I am your shishya. I am your student, hey Krishna. This is this crucial sloka. Arjuna, the soldier, is converted into Arjuna, the disciple. Shishya means, here Shishya means Siksha Yogya Shishya, the one who is fit for receiving the teaching. Just to be a student is not enough. Student should have the necessary qualities to receive the teaching. And that is called Yogyata. Is he qualified or not for this purpose? What are the qualifications? First, he should have an open mind. Right? He should come not with any preconceived notions. Because you will find that many students come with preconceived notions. This is what this means. This is what that means. This is what is right. This is what is wrong. If you do all that, then you are not open to the teaching, So it reminds me of, there's a story, the story that it's a Buddhist story. So I'll tell you the story because we don't have much time. So I'll just tell you the story and stop over there. There was this student who went to this Buddhist monk. And the student had a lot of ideas in his mind. So he went to the monk and said the same thing, Shadimam Tvam Prapanam, please teach me. But before the monk could say anything, the student kept on giving his idea of what things are, of how the world is, of what knowledge is, or what is to be done by a Buddhist monk. All those things the student kept telling. Okay. So what did the monk do? He kept quiet. He didn't say anything. After a lot of talking, then the student suddenly realized that, the Guruji kuch bol hi nahi rahe. So he said, sir, Reverend sir, you have not told me anything. So the monk said, let us have some tea. That was the reaction of the monk. Let us have some tea. So what did he do? He called for a pot of tea and 2 cups. He poured some tea for himself. And then he was pouring tea into the cup for the Shishya. So he poured the tea into the cup. Then the cup got full. But the monk did not stop pouring the tea. He kept pouring the tea. And the Shishya said, Reverend sir, what are you doing? So monk said, what am I doing? He said, that cup cannot take any tea. Why? Because it is full already. And the monk said, exactly. So do you know what that means?
The mind is already full with 3 kinds.
You
Yeah.
have to
Ideas.
empty
You have
yourself
to
out
empty yourself.
completely
So he was
and
telling the student,
surrender.
telling the student that, oh student, your mind is already full. How can I give you anything more? So that is why we say we should have an open mind. Whatever you have learned, see, all of us, during our journey, we would have picked up lots of things. We would have read 10 different books of 10 different authors. We would have got confusing ideas. And when we listen in Shravanam, and this is again one of the important things about Vedanta, because Vedanta sometimes is merciless. It will bring before you something which you don't want to see. Very often you will find that in either in the discussions on the forum or in the group, you will find a student saying, no, but this is not how it is. Now, even if the teacher tells him something, he will say, no, I don't think it is like that. So all these are expressions of what? Expressions of that frustration, that you are saying something which I don't want to hear because I have some preconceived ideas. So this is what is talking about over here. The Yogita first qualification is you should have an open mind, no prejudices. You should not have any conclusions in your mind about what is right and what is wrong. So during Shravanam, that openness must be there. You should not have concluded karma is moksha, the way to moksha is through karma, the way to moksha is through bhakti, because people said bhakti is the way, because Kali Yuga mein bhakti ka naam lena hai. All those things are there. Everybody has read all those things. But those conclusions should not be there in your mind. And therefore he says, Shadi Mam Tvam Prapanna. Surrendering to someone and seeking their help is the surrender. That is what it says, Tvam Prapanna. I am seeking your help. Hey Krishna. So when I say I am a disciple, I am a Shishya, I surrender to you. And when I surrender to a person, as a Shishya, the other person automatically becomes a Guru. Therefore, whether a person becomes a teacher or not, doesn't depend upon that person. It depends upon whether the other one, the student, is ready to receive, right? Giving is possible only when there is somebody to receive. If there is nobody to receive, you can't give. You can't give knowledge until the other person is prepared to receive that knowledge. There are many things which a guru can do. There are many types of gurus. Your guru is a mantra upadesha he gives. Now remember, with mantra upadesha, ajnanam does not go. Ajnanam cannot be removed by mantra upadesha. Mantra upadesha can purify the mind, can give temporary quietness of the mind because of the chanting. But ajnanam will not go. Ajnanam goes, for ajnanam to go, you require teaching. Because ajnanam can go only through the presence of jnanam. And therefore, the other person, the guru, has to tell you what is right, what is wrong. He has to tell you everything. And you have to listen. And therefore, Arjuna says, Shadi Mam, please instruct me, give me knowledge, remove my ajnanam. Right? And that ajnanam is a permanent solution. And he's saying that, hey Krishna, I don't want a temporary solution. Because if you give a temporary solution, it is okay for now. But when the next problem comes, again I'll have to come running to you, Krishna. So this, Arjuna is pointing out the difference between giving advice and giving teaching. That is why they say that when somebody is hungry, don't give him a fish. teach him how to fish. Because if you give him a fish, what will happen? The next time he's hungry, again he'll come back to you. But if you teach him how to fish, you have taken care of his problem permanently. So when you give advice to a person, you make that, you may solve the person's problem, but you don't make him independent. On the other hand, you make him dependent on you. The good teacher does not give advice. He does not want his student to depend upon him. The good teacher gives teaching so that the student becomes permanently independent. Right? So making a person dependent upon you is not good teaching. It's all right in 1 or 2 cases, but on a long run, the person who is a good teacher will not give advice. He will give you teaching. So advice makes a person dependent. Teaching makes a person independent. And therefore he says, hey Krishna, please make me independent. So with this, we'll stop for today. Any questions?
Sir?
Yeah.
They've used the word dharma sammuda. So sammuda signifies like with mood it has been used. What is the meaning?
Muda is confusion. The prefix
Sammuda.
some indicates complete. The complete confusion.
I have a question, Raviji.
Haji, Puli.
One second. So
Raviji,
in this, Arjun has progressed from first he was in the perplexed, in the confused state. Now he is recognizing that he has a problem and he's approaching him for the solution. So
Yeah.
has Arjun also advanced out of his depression a bit?
Yeah, because now
that
he
he's
has,
able to see that there's something.
he has come to the last stage. He has surrendered. That is the last stage before the actual transformation. You have a problem. You, first of all, you know your problem. Then you know that you can't solve the problem. Then you come to the teacher and you surrender. So this is that stage. The next stage is the giving of the knowledge. The giving of the knowledge will solve the problem permanently.
I have a question, Raviji.
Yes, Preeti.
Here he says that I am your Shishya.
Yeah.
So does Arjun say, I have become your Shishya just now? Or since they have a long relationship, Arjuna and Krishna, they have been friends. So has he been a Shishya?
No, this is a current usage.
Current.
I am your Shishya. I am becoming your Shishya now.
Okay, so
Earlier
there's
he was Sakha.
Earlier he was a friend. And that is why Krishna did not give any teaching in the beginning of the Gita. He is not given any teaching. Now only he is going to start.
Thank you.
Which is why, if you notice that whenever you people ask, I want my friend to join the group, what do I say?
Them to message me.
I say ask the friend to message, because the request must come from the student. I'm just following the tradition. You can't say that my friend wants to be a student and therefore please join him. Please let him join. That is not correct. It violates the tradition itself. The person who wants to learn has to ask. Okay, so with this we'll stop here. Thank you for your patience.
Raviji,
Yes, please.
आपने last lecture में you identified these 4 stages. First is that you recognize that you have a problem and you blame the world outside. Then you realize that the problem may be inside you. So that's the state you call the Karpanya Avastha. And the third stage, you said that you seek help, Sharanagati, and then you find a guru. So is there a name for the first stage when you blame?
No. I just extraction from the what they call. There are no particular names for that.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a very a slightly tangent question.
Yes, Maharaj.
In today's world, in today's world, when we approach, when we approach and we are approached as friend, philosopher, and guide to others, we take somebody to be our philosopher and guide, or we are at times somebody's philosopher and guide. Then if somebody has come to us for advice, now that person has come with complete good intent, and even with a similar good intent, suppose I am in the advisory position and I'm giving an advice. Now, if that advice is not right, then is it my karma dosh, that I did something wrong, or is it
Yes,
the
if you
person's
knew
karma
that,
dosh that?
if you knew that you were not competent to give the advice, that is what you should have said.
No, I don't know that. No? I might just give a wrong advice without willing to give one.
No, that is why it is important to be very clear, about your own self, what your own capabilities. If you're talking about spiritual advice, that means you should have at least have a working knowledge of Shastram. You
No, I'm not
yourself
talking
should have
about.
been taught.
I'm talking about what is right or wrong in terms of regular life. I mean, yes, there is a lot of spirituality to regular life, right and wrong. I'm not talking about hardcore spiritualism classes. No.
But
Right
what
action
is right
or
or wrong has got a very simple definition. Is it something which you would want done to you?
yeah. Huh.
If you've gone by
So
that,
we-
you won't go wrong.
Okay. Okay. But if
Acharya
at
ji,
all,
I feel we may take advice from many. Finally, we should analyze ourselves and see what is the right.
Then you have
And
not come to the stage of
take
surrender as yet.
decision and own it.
So that is
And
the
then
biggest
don't
problem
blame
in your
anyone.
life. If you do that, it is the biggest problem in your life.
So we
Because
we
you have
can
not
take
fulfilled the
advice,
definition
those are
of Shishya.
inputs.
You have not fulfilled the definition of Shishya. You see, we are talking about that particular thing here. If you think that I can solve it out, then you have not surrendered. Where are you, Shishya? You are not.
So Acharya, I have a question. It's a real-time problem. Like nowadays with the issue and all, I've recently had a conversation with one guy who's not at all related to much into yoga, or Vedanta. So he's very distressed about life, kind of want to leave everything and take a sannyasa, but he realizes that he has family responsibilities and all. So being at that advisory state, what do you think, we should suggest, like, what path to take, like, what is the immediate
I
action
know
we
one
should
thing.
be
If you
doing?
want to take sannyasa in Indian tradition, you have to get the permission of all your dependents.
Okay.
If you go for sannyasa, you not to a proper guru, he will tell you bring your wife and kids and parents.
Okay.
And let them say, I agree.
Okay.
You can't run away from life for sannyasa. That's not done.
That's right. So what should be our way of explaining them, or maybe putting them in the right direction? Like I do suggest sometimes, like, getting started with these kind of classes if they are willing to, like Tattva Bodha and then Bhagavad Gita. But otherwise, like, what do you think the immediate?
Otherwise, nothing. Life will teach them.
Okay.
Some hard
So
lessons.
it's okay, right? If we suggest that, why don't you join these classes, like the
Only if they have the interest. There are many people who just come in for the novelty part of it and then they walk out after 2-3 days or 2-3 sessions. It's not worth the trouble. You have, see, the first thing is your life experiences must have taught you that I'm looking for something else. Unless that discrimination is there, कि मैं जो कर रहा हूँ, maybe there's something beyond that. Unless that is there, this is not going to help.
Charity, I just have one short question. If you go short of time, I'll put
Yeah,
it
this is
in
the
group.
last question. So go ahead.
So right now we are speaking about how we offer advice, or as a teacher and a student when a student is coming as a shishya. But sometimes when we are making or choosing to act a particular way according to our swadharma, and not necessarily as giving advice to someone who is willing to receive it or not willing to receive. It is us standing true to dharma or according to our swadharma. Is that some place where we should not act? Like, for example, if we find that there is an adharmic action going on and the person who's done it is not aware and is not our student, so they may choose to just ignore what we have to say. But us being aware, when we stand up for against that adharmic action, does that put this entire thing like you don't give advice because the person is not willing to take it from you? Do we choose to still stand and fulfill our swadharma, or just
you don't have a swadharma of giving advice, if that's what you're saying?
Not advice. It is not advice. It is just stating the obvious. It is
not unless the person is your dependent. See, if you are in the role of having to tell, like you're a parent or an elder sister, then you can say. If you go and tell somebody on the street what you're doing is wrong, you're wasting your time. There is nothing, that you have to do that. If you choose to do that, you will find that 99 times out of 100,
They
that
resist.
person will just insult you and walk off.
Yes.
But if we choose inaction there, the society will remain in the adharmic state that it might be, with so many people who might be knowing their right dharma but not choosing to act.
That is there. It is hardly our choice to do that. If you are in the proper role, you are in the police, then it is something. You are in the courts, then it is something. But just going in, why do you think most saints don't talk? Because they know it's a meaningless exercise for telling people. People will behave according to their nature. When they have discovered that something is wrong, then they'll come to you. That time you talk. Okay, so with this we'll stop. Thank you for your patience. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Eva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya.
Om
Thank you.
Tat Sat.
Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you, sir.